Welcome everyone to the Pantheon of M. I'm your host Ray.
And I'm Evie.
Today, Evie, we're going to be looking... I'm sorry, I jumped ahead on this one, sorry. But we're going to be looking at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., episodes 8 through 16.
Okay.
But before we begin, did you enjoy this part before I get into a quick analysis of it?
Yeah, I think it was getting deeper into the characters of each agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and what they had to deal with, as they got to know each other.
Mm-hmm. Did you think it was better than the first 7? Because we're doing 8 to... And there's a reason why we're doing 8 to 16. Before I'll get to that. But, did you think... Because I know the first one was, more of an origin kind of, character.
Yeah.
Getting to know the characters.
Yeah.
Especially after Iron Man 3 and Avengers.
Okay. I think it's better now, yeah.
So we chose 8 to 16 because primarily it takes place right after the events of Thor Dark World. So the way that it was set up was the week Thor Dark World premiere, the following Friday, which I believe that was correct, this episode aired. So it takes place on the aftermath of Dark World. So it opens up in an episode called The Well, and it's where they're in England cleaning up after them fight between the Dark Elves and Thor, or Malik and Thor in that sequence there. And they're picking up all the artifacts. So item 47, we did a one shot. We're following any articles that are Asgardian or alien or dark elf, whatever was left behind. Their job is to collect it so it doesn't get into the wrong hands. So that's what we see in episode 8. And of course that leads into an Asgardian storyline, which is just coincidental in that sense. Yeah. The Well is basically a berserker staff, and we spoke about this in some detail in an earlier podcast as a personal favorite of ours.
Right. Where
there is a staff that belongs to a berserker Viking who is of Asgardian descent. He's one of the frontline warriors, and the idea of the staff was it gives the person tremendous rage, but also almost 20 times the normal strength value, right? Mm-hmm. And an Asgardian warrior broke the staff into 3 parts and left it in different parts of the world because he fell in love with Midgard. And he wanted to stay there and leave his violent side behind and be passive. He did it mostly for love, and so when they investigate the staff, someone has found one of the pieces of the staff, and they go crazy and they try to. And then Coulson locates a person named locates a professor of archaeology who he referred to help him find Thor in the original Thor. So he's located in Seville, Spain, and he's able to break down the writings that they were able to get off the staff from the markings that are left behind. So so it's an interesting little spin on Asgardian folklore and just basically the purpose of the episode was to bring out the dark side of oneself, especially the character in this case. It's going to be Grant Ward, because he's the one who's very quiet, but he has a lot of anger issues too,
and a bit of May as well.
And a bit of May as well, and that brings out some of his backstory, and we find out that he's a victim of some family, not struggle but angst. He fell in a well, or he was in a well, and his brother refused to bail him out, which is now we get to understand what really happened to Coulson. It answers that question because the way the bridge ends off is that they're able to scan Coulson's mind. The enemies kidnap Coulson, and he, in the end, voluntarily goes through the process of trying to figure out what happened to him the day he died. S.H.I.E.L.D. did some experiments to him, restructured his memories in his mind and his body and his heart through alien technology at a place called the Guest House, which we'll learn about later on. Which brings us to Seeds. Now, Seeds is basically the academy where everyone goes back to learns to become part of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's more of a Fitz and Simmons story where they go back to where the academy where they learned. And they're, because they're the geeks and the high intellectuals, they're the rock stars. And people like Grant Ward, the jocks, go into a different kind of academy. Reintroducing us to Ian Quinn, a mogul rich man who works for the clairvoyant, we learn, and it's just a little side story to invest into Fitz and Simmons. Okay, next one after that is Tracks, which is my personal favorite episode because it's kind of like an Agatha Christie event on a train. It's also the episode where we get a cameo from Stan Lee, and where we start to see Deathlock. It takes place over a course of a train, maybe in a course of maybe 1 hour, and a half. And they retell the story from different perspectives of different agents. And it's like, And there's slight differences in terms of like what happens, and then you kind of realize it's just a relooping of the same events, Vanishing Point, which did that film. It's and then the ending. We get two major consequences from that film, from that episode. One, Sky gets injured severely in that one, and that leads into an Inhumans series story later on, and we learn about Deathlock, and it brings into another character, which is Bill Paxton's character, who gets introduced in Tahiti, the following episode. Yeah. Now this one, they finally figure out what is going on with Coulson. They find out the location of where it takes place, and you find out what the guest house was holding, which was an alien being. And the serum that was used to bring Coulson back to life, to regenerate him, and to regenerate Sky back to the living, because she was near death, is the DNA and biological agents of an actual dead Kree character. Similar in the fact that that's what was used to save Captain Marvel after the explosion. When she had a blood transfusion and she was near death, even though she had the Tesseract energies in her, the Kree DNA is what bonded her and kept her stable. So that's where you see how that relates to this one, and it validates the Kree chemistry, because the Kree chemistry and human chemistry are very similar, and you're able to pull it off. And the last two is Yes Man. It's when this is when the one you like is where we have Sith coming to Earth to stop a renegade Asgardian. Now, last but not least, the end is the beginning, and I think I got the terminologies wrong, but it's kind of when everything started to come full head. There's distrust within the organization. May's keeping a secret. She knows more about Coulson's background than she really let on. We find out there is a hidden compartment in the plane, on the bus, that she's been reporting to, and we don't know who it is quite yet. And the clairvoyant knows more about them than they do, and they realize that the clairvoyant knows so much that the only way you can know about that is through being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. himself, a high-ranking authority, because when Sky goes to the profiles, it has the profiles of like their psychology profiles, or like what their weaknesses are, their strengths are, what they like, where they hang out. And only the clairvoyant knew all that, so he had access to all their personal data. And that's when he realized, the enemy is from within, and now there's distrust, and that's how it ends.
Wow.
So, summarizing episode 8 to 16, and it was interesting because once that finishes, we get into Winter Soldier, which dealt with a whole pile of distrust and enemies from within, which kind of leads into that one.
Cool. Nice job.
Thank you. I'm very proud of myself. Okay, but overall, what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, there was a lot of change in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because they had to deal now like with how people are, after you kind of know them and get used to them. Yeah. It's it changes things. Even among superheroes.
No, yeah, because everyone has tensions. I mean, even in like the first Avengers movie, they were fighting a little bit in between on the plane, bickering.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, even like working with somebody, over the years, people can. Yeah, no, I know. I'm could be. I get on his nerves all the time too, and he's like, just go on, man, go ahead. So I know, but I get it. Yeah, everyone has their little moments where but it's like family. People bicker, especially I have friends who are Italians, and they have their family, when they argue, they yell. Yeah. But they love each other so much. But like, do you really? Passionate. Are you really liking this person because you look like you want to kill it? But it's just the way they are. For sure. Like me and definitely.
Yeah. No, it's like me and you. Exactly. It's just it's like Ray, you're on a cliff. Off you go.
I'm like, why are you choosing this to go over that we have to endure this? Anyway,
it's like Captain America 1979 again. I don't want to. It's like we just did it. Like, yeah, I got to do it over, dude. It's just the way it is.
It's all good. Okay, yeah. So, what did you think?
Overall, I give this part of the series, I'm going to give this a 7.5 out of 10. Okay. There's nothing about it I didn't like. I love the fact that you're going down this rabbit hole of things. There's something menacing coming. You get the sense of it. You just don't see it. Okay. You don't see what's coming over that horizon. Right. It's Coulson's journey, and you feel for him more and more in this journey. And he is really, we make fun of it, he's the glue, but he is the glue that joins, who pieces this thing together, and is what made me so invested into the series right up until like seasons 4 and 5. So because of the story of primarily Sky and Coulson, and it's their story and understanding like, oh, we're learning about her story and what's the mystery box behind Sky too. You know, like Shield has been her family from the day she was born. Quite frankly, you know, you learn that she was an 084, and you find that Shield many died to save her life. You know, so there is so much layers to this thing that that was I just really love the mystery box that was built in this thing too, that gets revealed little by little. But now they're going faster to opening up the mystery box.
Well, it's done. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And but as you dig deeper, there's more mystery too.
For sure, yeah.
So you know, and there's that rabbit hole. It's getting deeper and broader, and you don't know who is the enemy and who's not. And that was the underlying theme we were ending off on. And the cliffhanger is Victoria Hand, played by Saffron Burrows, who I think is brilliant. Who's also an actual comic book character. And the thing I learned too, that Nick Fury is level 10. There is a level.
Okay.
And so when you watch Captain Marvel, he's level 3, but as of right now, at this point in the series or this movie franchise, he's level 10. That's the one. I guess if not the highest, I don't know what's above him.
Okay.
Besides that, I mean, I hit all the major points of the storylines, and I thought it was great. What I recommend is for anyone that goes to watch this. Yes, if you haven't seen season 1, beneficial because it's the bridge between Iron Man 3. If you want to know what happens before and after Thor Dark World, if you want to know what happens just before the events of Winter Soldier, which is probably the most important thing of all, what happens before and after Captain America: Winter Soldier. This was the series to behold.
I should watch that again.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier.
Well, so with that, I'm Ray.
And I'm Evie.
We ask if you can subscribe on the bottom of our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate it. Any help you give us, letting us get out there, hitting likes or subscribe, gets us to do more shows and gets our name out there. And if you leave us a comment, we appreciate that too. Gives us a thumbs up. And we'll see you next week with a brand new show. I am not sure what that is right now, but it'll be good. I'm sure it's gonna be good. All right.
All right. Take care.
See you next week.